Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today we'll be going over chapters 26 through 30 of World Serpent Arcanist. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody that the second bestiary the Kickstarter will be going on right now as we are talking. I believe the end date for that is October the 22nd of 2024. And if anybody would like to jump on that Kickstarter, I know Shammy did also say that there's enough people that do the Kickstarter that she'll send out everybody a Nickel and Rizzle plushie. So I want Nickel and Rizzle plushie. I know, Scott.
I don't think it needs to be said. Like, I want my own little Rizzle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we get enough, there's even a Luther plushie. So, like, there are possibilities here. So, and if you did not get the first bestiary, you can order it through the second Kickstarter as well. So you're not missing out on a book in the collection. And with that, we will get going on chapter 26, Battle for the Isle of Ruma. Holy shit. Now Zaxxas has to figure out how to become a true form. Too bad there aren't any second ascension people just hanging around for him to make a true form Phoenix.
No secret site he can run off to. He can't abandon the guild. He's already there.
And Volke is even like, you can't do this.
Do as I say.
Don't you dare run off. So Volke and Zaxxas kind of go back and forth with inspirational quotes from the pillar. And again, I'm getting the like pillow party, like most princess birthday party ever kind of vibes with it as they're going back and forth with this. So they make it kind of a vendetta to see who can get to Guildmaster Eventide the fastest and let her know what's going on and warn her of Akiva. And as they're running to try to get back to the Atlas Turtle, they see that the Sun Chaser is on fire because why not? You know, let's come on, people, let's get this under control.
Add to the chaos.
Exactly. Like, nobody has a fire extinguisher just hanging around. Like, I can only imagine the amount of OSHA violations going on here. Okay. All this fire.
Nobody's got a water type Pokemon.
Right? So they get up to the top of the Sun Chaser. Mesos actually comes down, gives us her literal like one line phrase in the entire series, and gets them up to the Sun Chaser. And there's a dang magma salamander up there. And while I was doing my notes for this, I literally was like, I wonder how the salamander got up here. And then literally the next paragraph, it says that Reese and Meatbag have teleported the salamander up there.
Meatbag.
And so then Ilya and Nicholin joined in on the fray. And as much as I don't care for the dread forms because they just creep me out, and especially Reese with Meatbag, I gotta give them props because they start joking about how Nicholin is half the Rizzle that Reese is. And it's so funny because it's so literally true and so creepy.
It's such a twisted sense of humor, and it fits, and it like goes with the Rizzle.
Chef's kiss.
Perfect. His name's Meatbag. It just doesn't get much better.
No.
That does bring us to chapter 27, which is the rooftop duel. So we do get to see Super Saiyan Akiva come out. So he has the aura, which everyone in the town that had been dying essentially adds to his power. Eventide is trying to protect not only herself, but the rest of the town with barriers.
She's even kind of like got this, I don't know, sumo wrestler pose, like strong. She's charging herself up too. And I only got to say is I hope that it doesn't take 3 episodes to get through her charging up.
Yes, that's kind of how it feels like it. Like, can we just see them go at each other? Like, I really want to see Eventide just go full Super Saiyan. Volke has this flashback to the Grandmaster dying from the venom, so he kind of understands, like, literal one drop of venom touches Eventide and she's dead. Luther is urging Volke not to fight, essentially like, hey, you've kind of been up all night, you've kind of done a lot of fighting before, it's kind of Akiva, like, you probably shouldn't do this, it's not going to end well. Volke doesn't listen. Akiva throws surprise, surprise, Volke doesn't listen. Akiva evokes Vena at him, and Volke is barely able to dodge out of the way.
And then Volke does try to evoke his terrors back at Akiva, but it really has no effect on him. And I'm not sure if there's like a legit immunity that Akiva may have, maybe a trinket or something to mind altering magics, but Akiva isn't affected by this whatsoever. And he can't be plague ridden, so
Yeah, like you said, it might be a trinket. Maybe he just practiced. He built up his immunity. It could be, the way he trains, it wouldn't surprise me. So it's tough to know what's going on there. Zelfrey does run up and join the battle. He has mimicked into a nightmare, so he essentially urges Volk to create an aura under the strategy of, hey, if it's full darkness, that's the one time they would have the advantage over Akiva. Volk does create it, but he does it wrong. So he's in a lot of pain. He can't really hold it. He ends up just giving Zelfrey retribution as like, here, take the magical weapon and go fight for me. Zelfrey is able to get a slice in and kind of hurt Akiva, but he almost gets touched in the process, and Volk ends up having to use the shadows to save him, drops the aura, and then Rise comes in and saves Akiva. So unfortunately, they're able to get kind of a nick and a scratch in, but no real damage. So close.
So close.
I know. We end off with Rise, Meatbag, Akiva all living and no worse for the wear.
And it's always that last second, just Rise comes in and teleports him out of danger. Like, dang it. Like, he's smart. And so this is where chapter 28, Recovery, comes up. Does Luther heal in the void? I wonder how he kind of regenerates his magic. I know he gets tired too, but I don't know if the void gives him abilities or strength. But
he doesn't sleep, so I don't know. It's like a standing recovery when you're not in a danger zone.
Is it like a +1 for every 5 seconds of?
That's kind of how it feels. Like no enemy in sight, your health starts to recover.
He can fast travel now too.
I wish.
I don't know. I think Luther just kind of sits in the void and just broods all the time. Even when we find him later in this chapter, he's brooding. So Eviana is not afraid to take risks of seeing Volk, and I thought that was just ever so cute because she done and shadow stepped her way in and made sure that she wasn't seen or caught by anybody because Zaxxas is in the same hospital ward as Volk. And remember, Zaxxas got plague ridden, so now he is a danger to everybody on the ship except for Volk and Fane, I guess, and even I think there's like 3 people on the ship.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, I guess there is a few.
And especially Zelfrey like half counts because if he does want to go in, he can just mimic Fane.
Right. So yeah, but
it's iffy, but
right.
He could, if he really wanted, go see Zaxxas.
Right. So Eviana is talking to Volk, and she decides to pull up herself a chair, and she uses the shadows to go up. And all I gotta say is, you ain't gotta say it's Leviosa now.
She does give off that vibe.
Yes. So I love her character in the sense that she's a very, very straightforward character. She does not beat around the bush. She does not like, oh, hey, how you doing? Let me talk, do some little small talk, and then you get into this. No, she's like, I don't care. You're like, let's talk now. I don't get me wrong. I do love Livia, but I do appreciate straightforward people. I am fortunately and sometimes a little bit too straightforward with some people, but
it's a tough line to walk.
Right. She decides that she wants to have glorious conversations with Volk since they are betrothed, and she does not have time to waste on just random small talk. So again, part of the straightforwardness, but I love that she has some glorious questions to ask. She does ask him, as one of her glorious questions is if he's naked under the sheets.
Definitely was my first thought too, After that battle, did they just like strip you? Did like one of the little ward ladies get to see it? Like,
well, they're medical professionals, so I'll loosely air quote the medical professional part, but they're the same time though. Volk is one of those people that does not have an inflated ego, and thank the Lord for that, because he wouldn't have been able to fit on Gentle, let alone in the ward. So thankfully, it's not Zaxis that's having this amazingness happen with him. And there, even though there's a guard posted up outside of the medical ward, Devlin and Vethica come in crashing like it's like they're debating to know if Volk had put his name in the Goblet of Fire. Okay, sorry for all the Harry Potter references this one, but it's just it came right.
It's got that vibe to it too. And we did forget Devlin is also immune.
Yes, and I don't know when he realizes this, but at some point he's got to have realized like he's immune to this.
Yeah, I don't know when either. He definitely didn't seem to know early on, but at some point learned that he is, because he now is a lot safer. And throughout kind of the last few chapters book, he's been a lot less concerned with it.
Mm-hmm.
So he did some reading. He found Adelgis's dad's book and did some reading.
Found Thiesen's Pokedex.
Yes.
So Vethica decides that she's going to go in there and she's going to heal Zaxis of the plague using her new Kepra magic, which is amazing if it works. So now I'm not arguing about anything with the books or the choices, but I love how they took the word renewal and they ran with it, and they used it very loosely, I feel like, and they use it with such confidence.
It is very strange because it's going back in time, which could not always be a renewal. But like, it's interesting,
right? It's not just like you're cured, or it was time, turn back to time or whatever. They used renewal, and I like the choice of the word renewal. I like rather than anything else, but they used it a lot in this chapter, and even Volk's feeling better. So
everyone gets healed. So that does bring us to chapter 29, Renewal. And Vethica just goes around healing the whole room. She heals Zaxis, she heals Volk. If they've got some plants in there, they're probably feeling pretty good. She, however...
It's almost like they're using a time turner without having to have people try and touch it and shit and just smacking hands.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing, but it does wear on her, and she is exhausted by the end of it. They think Zaxis is okay. Pretty much everyone is doubtful except for Vethica, who just reiterates over and over, no, he's healed, like, he's fine. We don't have to go confirm this anyhow. He's just good to go. There's no real way for them to tell that he's healed, which is kind of the tough part of the situation.
They ought to do what we did a couple years ago and just shove a swab up his nose into his brain and go in a circular motion 5 times.
Oh, those were awful. Those were awful tests. Instead, what they're going to go do is they're going to go find some plague hunters who have trinkets to be able to tell. And I thought this was funny because on the one hand, they'd be able to find out if Zaxis is healed. If he's not, though, he would immediately be hunted down by the plague hunters. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, if they're just going to take the trinkets and kind of run off with them. But I was like, that would be an interesting situation where you get our master arcanist there with his little trinket. Like, wait, you do have the plague. Come fight me. Or get Zelfrey to come fight me.
I'll keep him trapped. I didn't even think about the reverse side of that. If he was still infected, like, oh, they're just going to hunt him down then. I mean, good luck, because Zaxis is Zaxis, and dang well it's not going to happen. But
no. But luckily, Vethica is confident that it worked. Devlin, less so. Zaxis ends up talking to Volk and essentially getting jealous of Volk because Volk got himself healed where Zaxis was just cured of the plague. So he didn't get his chance to abandon the guild and run off and destroy an excavation site, almost died, get a true form. He didn't get any of that, so he's a little jealous of Volk.
Didn't get to save the mother of all shapeshifters or
no, like
any other crazy.
Count your blessings, dude. You don't have the plague.
Right. Like it should be the little things, okay? Zaxis, just deal with it.
Enjoy the small wins.
So that leads us into chapter 30, Island Farewells. Volk has already cemented his name into the history books as being a badass. Now he can inadvertently saved hundreds from the plague because of Vethica. Because he got the plague, therefore they needed a Kepra. So like it's one of those like butterfly effect things.
It is. Add it to the list.
The song's gonna be like an hour long by this point.
It's a ballad at this point.
It is. For being such a rush to find the World Serpent, though, they do really take quite a lot of time to leave Ruma.
But like, yeah, what's one day?
Right. Well, look, Volk and Addie spend 5 hours at her mom's house, and you can't really say that they're resupplying. I appreciate the stop in Ruma. I do. I love having that stop. Kind of shitty that he didn't get to see Gravedigger William. But 5 hours at his mom's house. Then they go back, sleep on the turtle the day that they're supposed to cast out. Then they get attacked. Now they're there for an extra day. Like, shouldn't we kind of get moving along here? Like,
And the island's not that big. Like, there's not really that many supplies to get. I guess you could get some like salted meat and some biscuits for Zaxxas, but
for a snack pouch.
put in a snack pouch.
Well, and I mean, I know Eventide gives her blessings for the trees so that way they grow faster and everything, so they can use lumber. She has gold leaves so that way they can import whatever they can't grow to fix things. But it felt like they took a long time.
It really does. And like, I appreciate Eventide's like help, but if you're the people on the island, are you kind of thinking like, if you didn't show up,
maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Like, they didn't really come here for us. They kind of came here for you.
So Luther ends up actually staying in Volk's room while Volk was recovering. Volk finally goes back, and lo and behold, Luther is brooding in Volk's room, staying in the window, silhouetted. Basically, he's there just to pass information to Ilya, to other people, kind of just trying to let them know he's okay. I am kind of surprised that Ilya didn't just kind of bust into the infirmary, because it's Ilya.
I thought so as well. I thought she would have. Aviana can sneak in, but Ilya kind of can too, because she can teleport. So, a little surprising.
I mean, I guess maybe she's maturing. That could be.
Maybe she is.
So, Volk does get summoned by Guildmaster Eventide back onto the Isle of Ruma. As we mentioned earlier, the Frith Guild is basically going to do whatever they can to help fix the town and make things right with the citizens. They end up crowding all the citizens, basically tell everybody what happened, what's going on. And they started yelling about all the things, and Volk did save people. So there was people yelling about how he kind of was the reason why that was there. But in my headcanon here, I imagine that the few mentions of this, that Volk is supposed to be exiled. There was people yelling this still. Volk was supposed to be exiled. Why isn't he exiled? I just imagine that Schoolmaster Tim's is sitting there like throwing out different voices.
Just heckling him to no end.
Like sneaking around and like, yeah, he's not even supposed to be here. Running to a different spot. And now Nicklin, of course, is just basking in the applause of being the sidekick's sidekick, or however that works out to be. And he does graciously accept the offer of being the island's mascot. I think is perfect.
Amazing.
Zelfrey gave us a quote that is relatively useful in that arcanists like you give people hope. Hope that they can change their places in life. Hope that when there's trouble, someone will step up to meet it. Hope that not everyone is corrupted by their life circumstances or power or revenge. Basically, a man can change his stars, going from a gravedigger's apprentice to a true form nightmare arcanist. And Volk is also very much like, I'm just doing my job. I don't know why everybody's like applauding me, but I did what I'm supposed to, okay?
That's what the heroes do.
Exactly. And even though Tim's gave Volk this like haphazard, like, oh, you're not exiled anymore. I'm like, okay, like, let's move on. I bet you he's somewhere in the background just crying his eyes out because Tim's can't be bullying Volk anymore. Like, Volk has made amends with everybody. It's all good now. And with that ends chapter 30 of this episode. We will be getting to the bestiary section. And before we do, just want to make a quick reminder mention of next week's episode, since this is a chonky boy. Again, we are going to end up doing a book review on another of Shammy Stovall's works, the Nexus games. That just in case those that are familiar with the Frith Chronicles but haven't really ever expounded upon their readings of Shammy's work, maybe other than Time Marked Warlock, We'll be going over the Nexus games and talking about it. It's great. We'll save that for next week.
Lit RPG, very good.
Yes. So we will be talking about that. There's actually a reference we made in last week's episode from the Nexus games. So I imagine if you have read it, you will have definitely gotten it. But anywho, I digress. All right. Today in the bestiary, we are going to go over the updated information of the Mimic. And just a quick refresher on it, a Mimic is a mystical creature who regularly changes shapes. It's able to transform into other mystical creatures. But they have to be close within the field of area, basically, that the Arcanist can sense them or the Mimic can sense them. And when the Mimic is in its natural form, it appears to be a domestic house cat. With all of the Mimics that we have seen, they have all been T names, basically meaning twin or copy or something along those lines, hence Tracis. There's Twain in the Academy series. So just a couple examples of names for the Mimics, as they are copycats and they either have gray, pink, orange, tan, or a light blue color. And all of them have heterochromia. I have no idea if I said that right, but
Yeah.
their eyes. Okay, awesome. They have two different eye colors, which is amazing. I love that so much. And I like to, again, my own headcanon here, think that they're polydactyl cats that have more than 5 toes, because just extra toe beans. So, with their mythology, these basically are loosely based off of the Mimics from Dungeons and Dragons, which are the chests that appear to be a chest, but they're not actually a treasure chest. They're actually a monster. When Shammy was asked about what she thought about Mimics, she replied that they're little copycats. So that's what led to an inside joke where she claimed all Mimics in their base form were secretly cats. So even in the Dungeons and Dragons version, I'm sure her headcanon is they are secretly cats until you come in the room. The Mimic's Trial of Worth is the mother of shapeshifters. Basically asks their candidate what their greatest fear are and then try to kill them using that answer. A couple examples we have seen is dropping somebody from fear of heights or having bit by a snake. The response that Zelfrey had given the mother of shapeshifters was he fears nothing, in which she gave him the Mimic 4. Mimics are a very unique creature in the sense that they are tier 1 through 4. This is basically going to be whatever creature they turn into is going to base off what their tier level is. And the Mimics cannot mimic a god creature. They are a progeny reproduction. Again, they're created by the mother of shapeshifters. Their evocation, their augmentation, and manipulation, all three are going to be the same. Whatever they turn into is going to be what their power set is going to be, your magical set. Essentially, they are Ditto from Pokemon. Their first move is always transform and then go from there. They also don't have the creepy beady eyes when they transform. That always yeah. I liked it because that's how they showed you that it was a Ditto, but still gives me TVs. Anyways, so with their passive abilities, they can sense magic that's around them. They can also gain innate abilities from whatever they transform into. So if they transform into a nightmare, they can see in the dark. If they transform into a phoenix, they can be heat resistant. So on and so forth. Again, they are just a copycat. They can do whatever everybody else can. With their auras, they have a chimera aura. We've seen this with the Marshal of the Southern Seas, I believe it was, when Zelfrey faced that with Callisto and with Eventide and Ruma. Basically, they're able to copy multiple Eldrin's forms of magic all at once. So they're able to use a multitude of things, but they have to have those creatures in the area in order to copy them. Now, their true form. Ooh, this is one of those things that I got so excited for with the Academy series. Touched on it the first time they touched on it with true forms or any kind of conversation about true forms with Mimics. We find out that they are a Gaius and that the mother of shapeshifters says only those who've defeated the oldest shapeshifter can achieve true form. Now, this is reference to the oldest shapeshifter being fear itself. And that is the only way that we will be able to see or to achieve our true form. And now, with their appearance, mimics actually will split into 2 exactly identical copies of cats, and then they can transform independently.
So
Like,
cool.
you have 3 different. Oh my gosh, it is. Like, you have 3 different creatures. Cool. I'm gonna turn you into this and you into that. Like, still don't have 3, but you know what? 2, because 2 is better than 1. And then just the icing on the cake, the topping off of the mimics' true form abilities, they unlock God tier. That not only can they split into 2 mimics, but now they can transform into a god creature as long as both mimics are still alive. They have to have both of them, but hey, if
The
you're
option's
telling
there.
me, what's that?
The option's there.
Exactly. The option is there, man. Like, that's awesome. Now, unfortunately, if one of the mimics dies, then they cannot do god tier level. However, if one does die, then the other still lives. Just you can only merge one again. So kind of have to make sure you don't let them die. But true form.
Very cool. The other one we're going to touch on is the Kepra. So the Kepra are fist-sized scarabs with iridescent exoskeletons, black eyes, and they are extremely smart. They have 6 black legs, and the front 2 legs are described as being barbed, but as they mature, they grow to resemble saw blades, which is pretty freaking cool. Despite their size, their voices are very regal and intimidating. They are based off of the ancient Egyptian myths surrounding scarabs. So there are a lot of stories where scarabs are a symbol for rebirth, life, death, resurrection. And in those myths, essentially the sun dies every night and the scarab magic heals it and it's reborn again in the morning. Their trial of worth is to venture through an underground maze filled with puzzles. But due to kind of the duality of the Kepra, the physical and mental portion, you see both physical and intellectual challenges. They are tier 3 and reproduce through fables. So there's 112 Kepra that were born from the first sands of the desert. And when a Kepra dies, it actually retransforms, resurrects, I guess is probably the better term. Renews. It renews as a child back in the maze. So due to that reason, that's very limited to the number of Kepra that are available. They are able to evoke desert light, so a white hot light. Their manipulation is time, so we see this where they're actually able to kind of turn back time a little bit. Vedica does this to renew Zaxxas and Volke. It's very limited though, so you kind of take old things and make them a little bit new. So minor effects of aging, but you can't necessarily go back 20 years and heal something. Their passive ability is the ability to see in blinding bright lights, and they are immune to soul damage. Their aura is ancient eyesight, so when they create an aura, there's a fog in the area, and that causes memories to play out that are tied to location. So, for example, if you were in a library, you'd see people going in and out of that library who were there, and things that are greatly emotional are shown much more vividly. True form appearance. So once they achieve their true form, their exoskeleton becomes pure gold and glistens regardless of the lighting. Their eyes turn to diamonds and they grow to the size of a large dog. And they gain the ability once more. So they are able to go back in time up to 24 hours, but only twice. So each time the Kepra and the Arcanist travel back in time, one of their diamond eyes shatters.
So a Dare Finch wouldn't be able to go back multiple times if he had a Kepra.
Not if he had a Kepra. He's lucky he got Kronos.
All right. With that, we're going to end this week's episode. We do also want to thank everybody for listening. Just a quick reminder, we have a few dates as far as releases go. So again, Labyrinth Arcanist will be releasing December 10th of 2024. Again, the second Kickstarter begins September 25th, and then it will run through October 21st. So just remember that. Again, if you didn't get the first book in the bestiary, you're still able to get it now. And I want the Nickelin plushies.
Buy your Kickstarters.
So, right.
Do it for the plushie.
Sorry, Sherry. Love the book. I want the plushie.
Eric, Scott, and I want to thank everyone for listening today. We post a new episode every Wednesday morning at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and 8 Pacific Standard Time. We are on all podcasting platforms and are also on YouTube as well for video. After the additional episode airs, we post chapter-by-chapter videos every day in a smaller, easier-to-digest format. We do want to give a special shout out to the final member of our team, Dan Mackison, one of the admins for the Frith Chronicles Wiki, link listed below, and doing his best to keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at frithguildpod@gmail.com or on Facebook or any other social media by searching for Frith Guild Podcast. Just to remind everybody, we have links to everything in the description below on both the podcast and YouTube. Scott, do you have anything else you want to add this week?
No, just looking forward to diving into Nexus games.
Thank y'all for listening. Let's catch you next week.